Today on the Nitty Gritty, is the age of video game exclusives over?
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. Well, they make some man instead. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delved. It was a weird pause right there.
Yes, I gave you the 3, 2, and then you waited like 3 more seconds.
I
Like,
thought
wait.
for a second you were going to be doing it, and then I realized, oh wait, no, it's my turn.
Yes.
Anyway, hey, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. It's been many years since I've said that, so I kind of forgot what I was supposed to say for a second. Anyway, I am your timed podcast exclusive Fox.
Let me dust off these cobwebs here. Okay, got it. We're good. Back to
Yep.
podcasting. Because of because of slow sales, I will be releasing Des to Fox now, and
Yeah.
yeah, I am Des. Hey, Fox. Speaking
Yes.
of video games, you know what's been
Video
happening a
games.
lot lately?
Well, a lot of stuff, but you know.
Yeah, that's it. Just a lot. I've been
Just a
eating
lot of
food,
stuff. Anyway, thanks for watching.
eating
everybody.
food, and
Yeah, breathing. And...
video game movies. Video game
been a
movies
lot.
were a thing back in the day. They didn't do very well, but now there's been like a lot of success in things like The Last of Us.
Some there's been more successful ones than ever before.
Yeah,
and
that's a
also
good
the
way to
opposite.
put it. Yeah, that's a
Also
good
the opposite.
Well, everybody wants a piece of that video game money, man. That video game movie money. Everybody
But
wants
some
a piece
people
of that.
haven't learned that it still needs to be good.
It's got to be a good. So, okay. We got Borderlands.
I'm going to talk about Borderlands a little bit later. We don't need to get into details right now. But
Did you see it?
I haven't watched it. No.
Okay. Which flopped. And now,
Hardcore.
yes, I think they just barely broke even.
We'll get there.
This
We'll
past,
get
okay. Then there's the Minecraft trailer that just dropped, and it does not look great.
It looks just terrible.
And poor Jason Momoa looks like he needs to be put out to pasture or something. The poor
Yeah,
guy.
that's a weird one.
Yeah.
There's also been some news about him that he might not be might not have had the best behavior on set.
Oh no.
So that's not great.
Yeah. And then there is a Sims video game in the works, which, huh? Like, what is
It's
that
just gonna
going to
filming
be?
people in their house.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing a joke, like, YouTube trailer for the Sims movie, and it was a horror movie because their lives are being controlled by this unseen hand.
Ooh.
And there's like this classic little clip of somebody like swimming, and then all of a sudden the ladder is gone, and they can't get out of the pool, and they drown.
So here's what we're gonna do. Fox and I have always used the phrase "anything can be good." Anything can be good.
Anything can be good,
So we're gonna challenge ourselves.
unless
We
Kevin
wanna-
Hart is in it.
We want to try and come up with the best plots for the worst possible video games to make movies out of. We're going to do our best to take a video game that should never get a movie and build a good movie from it. Which, right off the bat, I'm really excited for this one right here. Here's the one I want to start with, Fox. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Superman 64.
Superman, man, I remember getting that on N64, like renting it from Blockbuster, and even in my young, stupid 9-year-old mind, I was like, "What is this? Like,
So-
why can't I do things?"
You'd think right off the bat, Superman, easy. You can make a good movie of Superman. They've been made. It's fine. We can do that. But Superman 64 is infamously known for the
Yes.
amount of rings that you have to fly
You
through.
just gotta fly through some rings.
That's like the 30-second loop of the game is flying through rings, and that's
Yes.
it. And
You know Superman's classic deal, flying through rings.
fly through some rings. So, all right, Fox, we gotta make a good movie out of this, a good film. How do we do it? What is the plot of Superman 64, the movie?
The best thing I can come up with, there is a single issue of Superman written by Alan Moore called "Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow."
Right.
It's, the concept, it's kind of a 2-in-1 story. I'll spoil it. It's fine. You should read it anyway. Superman basically loses his powers turns out he was infected by a plant or whatever from Krypton. Basically, he's sick and he's going to die, and it's about him like losing his mind and just like trying to grapple with the fact that he's no longer Superman.
Yeah.
All right, and he turns out it's like a dream he's having, or like a night, like a fever dream, because
Right.
he was like this flower did get latched onto his face, but he's like he's in reality in the Fortress of Solitude, and they saved the day, and whatever. That's what I've got for Superman 64. This is a nightmare that Superman is having, where his like Lois Lane is like being, taken hostage by Brainiac, and Brainiac's like, you have to fly through all these rings, Superman, and then he just can't it's every task is just impossible for him to do.
Fox,
and he's like,
this isn't just
something else.
This isn't just a bad movie. This is a bad 3-minute YouTube video. Come
Yeah,
on, man. No. Here's what I got.
Come on. What am I supposed to do? It's infamously terrible.
Here's what I got. Ready?
Come on.
Brainiac, Doomsday, whomever,
Sure.
Lex Luthor. They discover, we're going Marvel direction, a multiverse. And
boring.
they are trying
I've
to
seen it.
find the best existence for them to take over, like the best universe in which they can take over.
Okay.
And the way that you travel to each of these universes are through rings. These unique
like
rings.
in Sonic.
Correct. And so Superman often, in order to find the correct one that they have chasing him to, or have fled to, or whatever else, has to fly through series of rings in perfect order to be able to get to it. And it is like in some of the universes he has less powers. It's a different sun. Some of them are a red sun. He has no powers.
I mean,
like that.
eventually they're going to go the multiverse route with Superman.
All comic books are like multiverse now. That's just
Right,
the way
I'm
it
saying
works.
movies.
Yeah.
Movies.
Oh
wise,
yeah,
movies
I'm sure.
wise.
I'm sure. Yes.
I mean, if they did like what's the Spider-Man? Into the Spider-Verse for Superman, there would absolutely be like a 10-second clip of him, but it's Superman 64 graphics flying through a ring, and then it just goes into another universe and be a funny moment.
Well, did you ever watch The Flash?
The show?
No,
I
the
know
movie.
it did oh no, also not that.
You're fine.
I know they did a few things,
But they
brought
did a few
Nick- it was
multiverse, like Nick Cage was back and things like that.
Right,
Yeah, and they went
yeah.
back to like the black and white one. There was a lot of different
Yeah.
Supermen in that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they already have then. Never mind.
Yeah. So, okay, that's our Superman 64 pitch.
That's the Superman 64. It sounds as terrible as the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Fox, ready? Tetris the movie.
It already exists, but it's a biographic movie about
Yes.
obtaining the rights to the
No,
game.
the actual gameplay of the film, Tetris.
It's animated. All the blocks are sentient. This is their job, to help kids have fun. And a line block, for whatever reason, has to get to work, but it's like a comedy of errors, and that's why the line block never shows up when you want it to, because it takes forever for him to get to work.
No, okay, you're right. Animated sentient blocks. It's sort of like Wreck-It Ralph, where there's the real world, but in the video game world, everybody
They
said
are
whatever
video
else.
games in the real world. Yeah.
And the blocks start questioning, where do the other blocks go when they get a line?
Wait. Is my whole existence just to die?
But where do we go afterward? And the line is terrified because not only does he not know what's happening next, and it's really a movie about death and about accepting what comes on the other side.
Accepting the unknown.
But in this, it's his trying to escape, and then eventually he needs to save his friends from the other side, and he's got to go in. Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying we do find out what happens on the other side?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say make it like a cool indie drama where it never, it's not about finding out. It's about acceptance.
The last scene is him going and then
Yep.
disappearing, and then credits
Goodbye,
roll.
my friends. And yeah, it's a sad indie drama about a line doomed to die.
You know how all those CG animated dramas about death? Oh wait,
No,
that
it's
was
actual
Up.
people dressed up in Tetramino costumes.
That's
But
good.
it's like a mumblecore
Yes.
$200,000 budget.
That's very,
And
very
okay.
good. Yes. Okay. Last one. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Crazy Taxi.
How would that not? That would be so good.
How? What is the movie?
An insane, like it's. Oh, okay. Picture, you know how John Wick, everybody's an assassin. Picture New York, everybody's a cab driver, and everybody has to get the next fare and has to get to the next stop.
If everybody's
just-
a cab driver, then who are the fares?
Hey, look, man. There's no exactly. If everybody's an assassin, who are they assassinating? No, and then don't worry about traffic laws. You never see a single cop. It's just an insane like race to pick up the person and drop them off, and super high stakes. And you got goofy oil you add some like Mario Kart-esque, like or
So you're basically describing Twisted Metal light.
yes, yeah, Twisted Metal, but don't have bad humor like the Twisted Metal show had. It was not funny.
Okay, here's my pitch for it. Comedy, starring Kevin Hart, of course.
Oh, well, you've lost me. Put that one right in the trash, Des.
And he's just like an insane taxi driver, right? He's just all like, because I don't know if you've ever ridden in a taxi
but
in these heavily populated places. They drive crazy.
Well, yeah, sure. That's
Yeah.
Faster they drop you off, the quicker they can get another fare.
But the next fare that comes into his cab are thieves that just like robbed a bank or something like that, and he
I'm
becomes
sure this is already a move.
and he becomes the getaway driver, whether he likes it or
It
not.
might even be with Kevin Hart in it. I'm not sure. It sounds like something he's already done.
But it would work, right? Like you have to now drive crazily through the city and
I think if
whatever
they were
else.
willing to just let it be insane, like, and not just like, wow, look how crazy this is, but fully lean into it, like a Mad Max-esque, this is insane,
I'm
and
picturing-
that's the point.
I'm picturing
Like-
Crank meets Gone in 60 Seconds.
There you go. Love it. Like, the problem is, it would try to be, like, let's get a huge audience and, wow, that just happened kind of humor,
Yeah.
Instead of just going for it. Have these characters that are ridiculous, but you don't even, like, stop for a second to think about it. Yeah, I think Crazy Taxi could easily be a really great movie or show or whatever, because Crazy Taxi is a great game. I'm looking forward to the next Crazy Taxi that they announced.
All right. Hey, Fox, what's been going on in the news, my friend?
Well, you know what? We're now gonna talk. Oh wait, hold on. I have a jingle. Video games.
Na, 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 video games.
All right, welcome to Cool Gamer Movies, where we talk about the coolest and latest happenings in the world of game movies and shows based on video games. We've got a lot coming out soon. There was actually less that came out this year than I thought. Like a bunch of stuff that I thought about actually came out last year. This year, it's basically been Borderlands and Fallout, I think.
Oh, yeah. Fallout was
No,
very good, too.
Yeah, Fallout was pretty solid. I watched half of it and got the point of it, but it was good.
Yeah.
Also, it's on Amazon. I don't have Amazon. I was going over to a friend's house and it just became untenable. Anyway, Borderlands. Let's focus on Borderlands today. Everybody knows the meme of Borderlands.
Oh, man. That poor show.
Yeah, well, movie. But yeah,
Movie,
so
yeah.
it came out, it dropped, a release date, August 9th, 2024. All right, its budget was somewhere around $115 million. Hey, what was its box office? What was its box office there, Des?
It was 115 million?
115 million.
$30 million.
You're $2 million short. It was
$32 million. Oh, that's so bad.
on a $115 million
That's
budget.
1/3. Less than a third.
Less than a third.
Almost a quarter.
Yeah, it's very bad.
Oofa
15
doofa.
15 million domestic, 17 million international. Like, just some of the worst. They made 8 million opening weekend,
Oh, that hurts so bad.
which tells me that most of the sales were driven by, look how bad this movie is.
Yes. Yes.
because 75% of it was after it came after the opening weekend, after everybody confirmed that the critics were right and it was terrible. So yeah, 32 million. Let's see. Hold on. There was one other fun fact that I wanted to get in here. Yes. So it came out August 9th. What is the projected? It was August 9th. As we're recording this, it's September 18th. A little over a month later. What's the projected home media release?
Like when?
As in being able to watch it at home.
I honestly expected it to be like the week after it released.
It was August 30th.
Was it really?
It already did. It came out less than a month later on digital release because I think they said, well, if we don't make people go to the theater, maybe they'll be more inclined to watch it.
Right.
And tracking those kind of sales are kind of impossible, but I'm sure it actually probably made a decent amount. Compared to its theater.
Don't
release.
quote me on this, but I think I saw somewhere that it had recently just broken even. I don't know if that's true or not. I just
definitely not like its box office budget.
No, just overall.
Yeah, man,
like,
it would have to make 3 times as much at home, which seems unlikely. But also, it's possible.
I don't know.
I don't know how much.
Again, maybe I'm making it up.
It's probably, I don't know. It's possible. But then there was so let's talk a little bit more positive. Now let's talk about the Fallout TV show.
Yeah.
Now, we can't really. It's a streaming show. There's no way to. We can learn what the company what Amazon will tell us, but it's not like you can say here's how much money it made because it's just part of a subscription. And who knows if people subscribe to watch it or just watch it because they already had a subscription. But like you and I said, way better reviews. It got pretty good reviews. It held pretty faithfully to the world and tone of Fallout with also being a new story, which I thought was a really good way to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's literally just a big sandbox. Like why would you waste your time just doing the same thing over again when you could just tell a new story in this cool place? Plus it had Kyle MacLachlan in it, and he's always great. No, hold on, let me find the. You finished it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So are we saying spoiler alert? Oh, you haven't finished it, really?
No, I only watched about half of it.
Oh wow.
Like I said, I was going over to another friend's house to watch it, and so it just was inconvenient, and I wasn't champing at the bit to finish it.
Right.
Oh, hold on. It won. Oh, an Emmy, yeah, or Primetime Creative Arts Emmy Awards. It won Outstanding Music, Supervision, Outstanding. Yeah, it was nominated for several Emmys. Like, of the 2, maybe I think there's only 2 live action video game based media that we've seen. They are literally at the opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
It really gives us the full sweep of what people are able to do when they take some video game concepts and turn them into a live action drama or whatever you got. So anyway, coming up next, we have what was it? Well, we've got, of course, like you said, the Minecraft movie that's coming out next year. It's going to be terrible. I think it'll do better than Borderlands.
It will do great in the same way Five Nights at Freddy's did great, in which it doesn't matter what the movie is.
And here's the thing, though. I was talking to my brother about it. He absolutely loves Minecraft, grew up playing it, still plays on a regular basis. And he was disappointed. Like, if it was, not great, but had a huge attention to detail, obviously we're working off a trailer.
Right.
But even the trailer shows us they're not really trying to go detailed Minecraft stuff. They're just trying to go, it really has a big Jumanji energy to it, to me. Where it's just kind of goofy and video game related. They just put Jack Black in a blue t-shirt and said, hey, he's that guy you like now. But yeah, we got that, and then there's plenty of other. There's what's the Yakuza? There's a Yakuza show coming out. Oh,
really? I didn't know that.
Toward the end.
Serious or comedic?
It's coming out soon. Well, yeah.
Okay, cool.
If you've played a Yakuza game, then yes.
Okay.
The tone is yes. yeah, there's a few other things coming out. A couple movies, a sequel to the most recent Mortal Kombat. Well, we've got lots to look forward to, and probably lots also to cringe at. And I'm excited about it because, I like how terrible they can get. I like the tradition of terrible video game movies. Ever since 1990 with Mortal Kombat.
I like the the new trend of good video game film content.
Yeah, those are fun, but I'd rather laugh at a movie.
Hey, Fox.
Yeah.
What would you consider the greatest mystery in comics?
In comics?
Yeah. Just like in the lore of comics.
Oh, in the lore of comics.
Yeah.
Like in real life or in
the lore,
in
like in the actual universe. Yeah. The greatest mystery.
What's the Joker's real name?
No, you fool. It's how Popeye lost his eye.
Popeye lost an eye?
Popeye the Sailor Man?
He only has one eye?
He's always been like this.
Oh, I didn't know that was because he only had one eye. I just thought it was like a weird,
He's just got pink eye, consistent pink eye always.
He's got constant, persistent pink eye.
Well, good news, Fox.
Okay, cool.
There is a manga releasing that will explain how Popeye hurt his eye, how he's lost the use of his eye.
Popeye reboot movie.
It's not a movie. This is a gritty Popeye. Like, it is legit manga. I'm scrolling through the article here, and they have a lot of pictures of pages and whatnot. And there was like,
I gotta look at this.
Black dude with glowing purple flames like looming over a beaten Popeye as Popeye is slowly reaching for his can of spinach type stuff. Like
it's a sensu bean.
It's
Dragon Ball with Popeye instead of Goku.
And there's just so much of this like quirky anime girl who's there to help and whatever else. Like so much going on that is classic manga, but it is so like. Well, what's the word that I'm looking for where these two things just don't make sense together? There's like a cognitive dissonance to this. Where it's just, this is Popeye, but also it's manga, and it's hard to see these two things together, but at the same time, it's spectacular.
Sure, yeah, why not?
I have been, this is something, maybe we'll drop this on our socials and on our Discord, some of the pages from here, but this is just something that I want to know, who needed this?
I do now.
Like, are there still Popeye stands out there? Like, are there still people who are like all about Popeye who are just have been dying to figure out how he lost the use of his eye?
There's going to be a corner of the internet, I'm guessing a lot of them are going to be fairly aged, but there's going to be a corner of the internet for anything.
Okay,
there.
But you get this corner of the internet, and how do they read manga? Number one.
That's a good point.
Like, number two, how many of them who read manga and love Popeye are then also going to pay for this? Like,
maybe it's just a simple fact that like getting the license was extremely cheap.
Maybe, yeah.
That might have been it. Like, you know what? And then they said let's do it for the Vine. Like, why not? It's cheap and it'll get some clicks on Reddit and maybe we'll make a few bucks.
I kid you not, I love it. Like, I am just thrilled to see it. I'm not gonna buy it. I might,
it's a funny thing.
I might Google a like summary of the events or whatever. But I love that.
I Lie Popeye.
Yes, I Lie Popeye is the name of the manga. Yes, and yeah.
Okay.
So there you go. That's a thing that's happening.
Okay. Well, I hope they also reveal the Joker's real name.
I mean, technically they have.
No, they haven't.
It's complicated.
The real biggest mystery in comics is anything anybody has ever said actually true?
Right. Yeah.
Everything changes at all times.
Yeah. Is there anything out there that is objective, unchanging, stationary? And the answer is no.
It's a fixed point in space-time.
Hey, Fox, you ready to get down to the nitty-gritty?
Let's get down to the actual nerdy-gritty.
We will get down to that right after this. Hey, y'all, before we get into our main topic today, I need to let you know that the Nerdy Gritty is brought to you by SavePoint Ministries. We're an organization that wants you to know that you are deeply loved and valued by Jesus. But we also believe that a physical, real-world community is something that's vital for all people. So we combine these two ideas, and we find what's called nerd-friendly churches for people who are looking for one. This is a place where you can learn about the love and salvation of Jesus, but you can also talk to somebody about your D&D character, or what games you've been playing, or whatever else. So if you're somebody who's interested in finding a nerd-friendly church, or maybe you are a pastor or a volunteer at a nerd-friendly church and you want to be featured, well then go over to our website, savepointministries.com, and we'd love to help you from there. Okay, let's actually get down to the nerdy gritty. All right, we are back, and we want to talk about something important today, and this is the age of video game console exclusives. This is something that has been pretty much true since the invention of consoles, that there are some third-party video game developers that most common third-party video game developers will make their game, and then they'll release it on multiple platforms. The PC, PC, Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, whatever, multiple platforms. But there is another side of this in which first-party creators, Nintendo's studios, Sony studios, Microsoft studios, will make their games and then release it exclusively on their console. This has been something that has been done, again, since the beginning of console video games for the purpose of selling consoles. If you want to play this game, you need to own our console.
Right. Usually an exclusive can be fairly reliably great. Not just like pretty good, but like, look, if this is going to sell, not just buying the game, but buying something that costs 5 times more as well.
Right, and that's actually sort of the phrase that's used is console sellers. Is this game a console seller? And sometimes they are. You know, like Nintendo is probably the most famous for having console seller games. For just
I bought a Switch just to play Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, exactly. And there are tons of other great games on it that I've played, but that's why I want a Switch, play Breath of the Wild, you know. So, although somebody bought it for me, but still, anyway, but we have seen more and more video game companies slowly kind of saying, okay, well, maybe we'll release some on PC. Maybe we'll let some of our IPs go on other consoles, little things like that. Yes. And now we see Microsoft taking some of their like closest exclusives and letting them go to other consoles. The big one, the one that is like really talked about right now, is Call of Duty. Within, I think it was just last year, maybe even earlier this year, it was finally approved of Microsoft's acquisition of
Activision
Blizzard, which Activision develops Call of Duty, one of the biggest games on the planet. Yeah. And they have said it will not be a console exclusive.
Right. To be fair, Call of Duty was never exclusive.
Right.
But it won't start to be.
Correct.
Even though it might possibly be something that could be a system seller for a certain audience out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So this was something that has been shocking to people. There's a lot of questions on what else is next. There's been several things that they're announcing that are going to be, going to other consoles. So here's what we want to talk about today. Is this the end of console exclusives? Do we really think so? If so, to what extent? If not, why not? Do we think it's a good thing? Kind of our general thoughts on this all together. So Fox, first of all, why don't you start off letting us know why this is happening? Like giving sort of a summary of why Microsoft and other companies are doing this.
Microsoft has been releasing some first party, their exclusive stuff to other, like you can play Hi-Fi Rush on PlayStation now, I believe. They still have some exclusives. Starfield is still a Game Pass kind of ecosystem exclusive,
right?
Although you can play it on PC. Halo still is a Game Pass exclusive kind of thing. PlayStation has been like they have not been putting any of their exclusives on other consoles, but they have been releasing them on PC, on Steam. God of War and stuff that was for a long time just this is a PlayStation and system sellers. God of War is a system seller. Yeah. And so I think a lot of it has to do with the increasing these big games that are touted as system sellers cost a lot of money. When you make a God of War, even though that one's an exclusive, for example, or Starfield. When you make a Starfield, you are spending a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of other resources to make that game.
Millions.
Hundreds and hundreds of millions of
Yeah.
dollars for 5 to 10 years, and you are, so you are going to want a return on investment, and not just a return of investment, but far more than that. There's a similar thing going on in movies right now, where a movie that comes out and makes 500 million on a 250 million budget doubled its budget, but still is not seen as the success that would have been at one point. Now it has to make $1 billion, or it's not. It kind of failed in the eyes of an executive team. And I think that's true for video games as well, where if we're going to be investing this much money, there has to be not just a return, but we want to see a multiplication effect. We want to be able to pay for the next 4 games with this one game. So I think that's going to be driving a lot of, and the way to do that is to be able to have as many people buy it as possible.
Right.
And even if they don't own our first party console, which I think is probably going. I'm gonna go ahead and say the financial aspect of it is going to be the number one motivator here.
And that's pretty much what Phil Spencer has confirmed, is that
sure,
we're going to sell more games if we have it on more platforms. That's just a fact.
Right, which, sure, that's fine. Like, we can get into how we feel about it and what, any other implications, but I think that's going to be the number one driver. I also want to say that maybe there is some, everybody should be able to play games, somewhere out there, or PlayStation specifically is putting stuff on PC because at least it's not on the dirty Xbox. We'll allow the neutral party of Steam play it, but you can't put it on Game Pass, suckers. Now, we also mentioned that the anomaly here is Nintendo. Nintendo has a raft of IP that is...
And will never.
Will never. It is what sells their consoles. For me, it is what sells their console. Every time is a few, you have your Zeldas, you have your main line Super Mario games, you have, a few other things that these are huge. They put a lot of time and effort, and also a lot of polish and quality of what's the word I'm looking for?
Not quality of life.
Production quality.
Okay,
No,
I was like,
just making sure it runs smoothly, that it's bug free, things like that. Whereas some others don't do that. They have a level, a standard that is pretty high. And I think there is a bit of we're Nintendo. This is who we are. This is what we do. So they kind of are in the realm of Nintendo, realm of video game producers, video game companies. They're over here doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And that's not going to change. As soon as you can play Zelda on a PlayStation, I'll never buy a Nintendo console again.
Right.
Don't need to. Need to.
Well,
yeah.
Nintendo's goal from the Wii, their goal has been to be the second console in your house. Like they
You also have one of those.
Right. And they've totally admitted that, because they saw that the average household was fighting between Xbox or PlayStation, which one, and they're like, cool, you guys have that fight. We want to be your second console in your house, and that way half of the people will buy Sony, half of the people will buy Microsoft, and everybody will buy Nintendo.
Everybody will buy a Switch.
And that's worked. Like, that seems to have worked. You know what I mean?
There's also a lot of households that just buy a family console in the Wii or the Switch, because it has a lot of great party family games and stuff. So.
Yeah.
But so they're kind of out in their own field.
So really, our conversation
kind of
between Microsoft and Sony.
Yes. Well, it's kind of where all three of them used to be, though.
Yeah.
As far as they each had their stable of console exclusives that they would, sell everything on. They had their mascot games and things like that. Like, the Xbox only continued to exist past the first Xbox because of Master Chief and Halo. Like, there's other good games, but that was the system seller.
Yeah.
Like, they needed that. And if it was just for everybody, where we're gonna buy this Xbox, and also it's got Halo, but you can also get it on PlayStation. Why would I buy your Xbox? I've had a PlayStation for years now.
Well, and PlayStation is and consistently continues to be the best-selling console on the market.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah. And so
yeah.
I could see Microsoft's idea of, okay, if we're going to create console exclusives, but we have to admit that we have lost and continue to lose the console war, we can't rely on first-party sales to make up that cost to bring us in, where Sony can do that. Sony has so many consoles out in homes that when they release an exclusive, they have to worry very little about the Microsoft folks who will not be able to play it. Most people have a PlayStation. That's a much bigger concern for Microsoft, which is where you see them now saying, like, guys, this isn't working as well as we thought it would. Same with Game Pass. This isn't working as well as we thought it would. We need to get more sales on our games.
Right. If we've got an investment in there, we need to get a better return on it. And I think that a big signal of that was Halo Infinite.
Yeah.
Halo Infinite was pretty disappointing.
Yeah.
Not the game itself, like the gameplay loop was pretty cool. Half of the game was cool when you're not in a just corridor running down hallways shooting things for an hour, and then when you go back outside and it's like open world-esque and you're grappling around, really fun. But then they said, actually, that co-op campaign that has been in every co-op feature has been in every Halo. We're actually not going to do that this time.
Yeah.
And also, the story is weird and not a great place to start. And it just felt like let's put a middle amount of effort into our once proud, flagship title.
Yep.
And I think that was just a signal of, hey, this isn't really our deal anymore.
Yeah.
The massive, exclusives are not really what we're relying on anymore. We're trying to become just pay for our subscription service and you'll have hundreds of games to play from. Even if not a lot of them are ones you're wanting to play, a good chunk of them will be. And we'll put new ones on there and stuff like that. So they've shifted their revenue stream, their business model, I think, in a big way, which means they don't care if their games are getting ported to other systems, and in fact are doing it on purpose because that's kind of leading into that model.
So let's shift into the conversation of whether we think this is a good thing or not. To be clear, we have had the exclusives conversation before, but this was
been a while, but
years ago. You can go back to listen to that one if you want, but I see no problem kind of rehashing that now.
No, we've reached a new threshold, I think.
Yeah. So overall, let's just kind of get into, do we think it is a good thing that there will be less exclusives, or do we think it is a bad thing that there will be less exclusives? Go.
Well, yes.
And why?
The answer is yes.
Okay.
Obviously, it's a little
Fox,
gray
we
area.
need a hot take. We need
all exclusives are bad.
Yeah, just like a little clip.
A gaming socialist. Everybody gets equal access to all games. No, it just really depends on who, the point of view you're coming from. For the typical consumer, the easier the access to getting games, the less reliance on spending a lot of money to get a bunch of consoles and be able to play all the games. That's nice. It's nice to not have to, if Starfield is coming to PlayStation, cool. I don't have to pay for Game Pass. I can just play it on the PlayStation. That's good for me. It's pro-consumer to just say, oh yeah, whoever has the ability, any of these 6 different options, yeah, sure, play our game. We're looking forward to it. It's great. On the other hand, the big thing we've talked about before, and I still think is true, is I do think that some good creative decisions and good IP design comes from the competition of this game is there's a lot of stakes riding on this game, which means we have to make it incredible. So that's how you get a Last of Us, and that's how you get a God of War, and that's how you get fill in the blank here of all these flagship titles that Sony has been putting out. Let's say you get a Horizon. We're going to put a lot of polish on these games because we're putting our eggs in the exclusive basket here. And if people aren't really interested in it, then why would they buy our console? And so I think it does drive that like creative competition a little bit to be able to say, yes, we love games and we're making incredible ones. Come over and see what we're doing exclusively on the PlayStation or exclusively on the Nintendo. You know?
So I mean, this is something that I really think is an important part of exclusives, and it's going to begin with just a question here. Fox, what is the last banger of a video game that you remember made by Sega?
Like, made by Sega?
Or how about Atari, for that matter?
Well, I mean, they're still like development companies.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. They're still out there making games. They used to make consoles.
everything Sega, I keep thinking of Capcom games.
It-
Atari, I have no idea.
This is exactly my point. Both used to make consoles and
Yes.
eventually were defeated in the console race, in the console competition, and decided we're just going to go software development. And from that point forward, there has not been a just absolute banger of a game from them, when in the past there were like the Shenmues of the world or even the Sonics of the world. Sonic, when they were making Sonic to sell
Yeah,
consoles,
Sonic has always been great.
when they were making Sonic to sell consoles, it was outstanding. When they started making Sonic as just a IP to sell, it went
Oh, did you
downhill.
want a hot take? Because I disagree. Even the original Sonics, I think, are not very good.
Really,
Anyway,
classic,
let's move on.
They're classic platformers.
Let's
Yeah.
move on.
So
Let's move on.
So, or let me rephrase that, are received incredibly well, are seen as very, very good video games by the average person. So,
Yeah.
so what happened between then and now? And my honest thought is they don't have a console to sell anymore. They don't have that really huge investment in something that they need to make that return on, and therefore they need to make the best possible game to sell their consoles.
Yes.
Microsoft is now starting to say, we're going to start releasing these out. We're going to start letting out in the world. Halo Infinite and a lot of these other games are going straight to Game Pass. Guess what? They were also pretty mid. A lot of these games were seen as a little disappointing and not as great as they used to be.
Starfield was extremely outdated on day one.
Right. And again, I think it's because they weren't stopping and saying, this must sell our console. This
Right.
has to be the one that does it. Whereas, let's look at Sony. Sony has incredible games. They have Last of Us 2. They have Astrobot that just dropped. Astrobot is
That's true.
spectacular. You know, like they have games that sell consoles because they have that investment in their console. I think console exclusives create better games. I really, really do.
The exclusive model, sure.
Yes,
yeah.
the exclusive model helps
drives that.
and I'll say
creative.
fosters better video games. And the moment that everybody just decides we're making something that's going to release on everything, I think that we sort of lose that huge efforts, or even like
Also-
that loyalty part of it.
But we should clarify here. There are 1,000 incredible games that are not console exclusives.
Yes.
There are, I would say, the better game development model is the small indie studio working within its means, so that when it comes out and makes a decent return, it doesn't have to lay off 700 people. It can just continue to survive because it doesn't have a huge overhead. It's fine. Like, it just continues as it is, and so like, I don't want to say that you have to have a huge console exclusive to make a great game. There are lots of great games. When we say great game, well, what we're really saying is extremely high, like, cinematic production value,
Right.
which can also exist in smaller indie developers. But like the level of like Last of Us 2 or a God of War or even Astrobot, like that level of production value on a fairly small, it's like 15 hours platformer. The resources that take, it also looks incredible. Like, just some of it doesn't have obviously it's a little cartoony robot guy, but like the environments it in, some of the the tech it's using is super high level stuff that isn't necessarily available to everybody unless you're a huge mega corporation called Sony. And
Yeah.
so, like, that's what we're saying when we talk about huge exclusive, is these super high productions that are simply out of the reach for most independent. I'd say the closest you get is Hellblade, of like that super high quality, high fidelity, like high impact cinematic moments and stuff like that, where it feels like a triple A production, but
Yeah.
really is not.
Is not.
There's,
Yeah.
there's very few examples of that, and so that's what we're talking about when we talk about that that kind of, you know, game that's being produced that's a system seller. And unfortunately, that's kind of where it is. There's not going to be people out there that are saying, even something like, if Hades 2 was an exclusive to the PlayStation 6 or whatever, there's not going to be a lot of people that are going to say, well, I have to buy a PlayStation 6 now.
Right.
Even though Hades is one of the best games ever made and has like this huge following. Like, I'm looking forward to it immensely. I don't think a lot of people are going to say that's going to sell a console. There's a certain expectation for a lot of people that has been set up by the history of exclusives that has been laid out.
Well, and the unfortunate reality of multi-platform is having the designers having to then design the game for each platform. The hardware and therefore software on each console/PC is inherently different. And therefore you have to change your game a little bit, and like
it's going to up the costs.
And it's going to up the costs. It's going to cause a longer production time. And sometimes it's just not going to translate well. Things like Baldur's Gate 3, you can tell it's made for a PC. Playing it on a console is a little bit cumbersome. Not terribly so. They did a great job trying to make it as easy as possible.
Translating.
But
yeah,
it's very clearly a PC game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just the user interface, the user experience. It's like playing a Warcraft, like a strategy game on a console. There's just so many things to interact with.
Right.
You got to really make it work.
And so, it just stating from the very beginning, okay, we are multi-platforming this. You are committing to more time, more challenge, more money, and that's time, challenge, and money that can't be into fine-tuning your game and making it a great game. That's just time, money, and challenge to put your game on other places as well.
Sure.
And so it just, all in all, again, I think that it just makes for less great games. Again, this is not to say you cannot make a spectacular game that's multi-platform in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying it's significantly more challenging to make a great game if it's not exclusive.
Well, here's the thing. I think most great games that come out are multi-platform.
So I decided to go look at the Game of the Awards the last few years, and it's Baldur's Gate 3 multi-platform, Elden Ring multi-platform. It Takes Two, I think, was PlayStation exclusive.
Was it?
I can't remember.
Either way.
But then, and before that was Last of Us, PlayStation exclusive. Sekiro.
No, it wasn't.
Was not. No. Sekiro was multi-platform. God of War was exclusive.
God of the War. This is my war that I'm the god of. You can have another one.
Breath of the Wild was an exclusive, and then before that, it's all PC games. And that's just, so we're like 50-50 here. But then if you look at the nominees, Super Mario Brothers Wonder, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Tears of the Kingdom, exclusives, bangers of exclusives, God of War Ragnarok, just Stray, these great games that are exclusive. Like, again, you just see that exclusivity fosters better games overall.
Now, hold on. We do need to point out, It Takes Two won Game of the Year. What?
Okay.
It was a really fun game. That's crazy, right?
Over Deathloop, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet & Clank, Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village.
Oh, the only one I'd say that's like easily not better than is like
Village.
I'd say it's on par with everything except for Village.
That's
Village
exactly my point.
That year.
That's exactly my point. But on top of this, you do have to tip your hat for It Takes Two for its genre, like
co-op only.
Yeah, it's very unique.
That's a risk.
So we tease It Takes Two a lot for winning Game of the Year, but when you look at it, it was 2021.
We tease it because it feels so weird, out of place. But it's great.
Anyway,
at the end of the day, who cares who won the award? It doesn't matter.
But anyway. So overall, I think that exclusivity, calling it a good thing may not be the right thing, but I do think it just fosters better video games.
Yes, I think a lot of great games that are exclusives or are exclusives. I do think it does contribute to a major problem of the video game industry of high cost is seen to equal better.
Yeah.
At least in like a, from a, we have to put a lot of eggs in these big, like a couple of baskets. Which is why I think, hey, cool, Microsoft. I like that you're spreading it out and just saying, hey, we're in the business of games. I don't know. I think that's going to clash with, capitalists make as much money as possible forever. The line always has to go up.
Right.
I think that's going to clash. I think you're going to fizzle out eventually. But also, I'm on board. Like, if you could just lower your expectations and just say, hey, profit, we need to be profitable. Then pump a bunch of money into smaller developers and say, hey, make what you want to make. Here's your limited budget. We want to see something pretty cool. Don't worry if it doesn't sell 1,000 billion copies. You know, that's not what we want from you. We want to see your creative vision. And so I actually think what I do think at the end of all of this is I'd rather have two, of the competing ones. They won't be competing anymore. I like that to a certain extent. PlayStation is still going to it's just kind of two sides of the same coin. We want to make great games. Microsoft is going to put spread out $1 billion amongst 20 different games. Obviously, these numbers are just made up off the top of my head right now. And PlayStation is going to say, well, we're actually going to focus on these 3 games, and each one is going to get $300 million.
Yeah.
We're going to, and so it's a different strategy, and both can succeed and fail. But I think it's going to just really rely on what is your business model at the end of the day. What do you see as success?
So, okay, on that note, then let's sort of transition to the next thing I want to talk about, and that is, what do we think comes next? Do we think Microsoft will go full, no exclusives at all? How do you think it's going to work? Are they jumping out of the console race altogether? Like, if they're jumping out of consoles, what does the future hold for all of these things? What's Sony going to do in response to all of this? What's happening? What do you think?
My theory is Sony or Microsoft is looking at the Switch and saying, okay, how about that? Let's make a cheaper console that you can take wherever you want. It's going to limit your hard, or maybe they're looking like, let's go somewhere in between the Steam Deck and the Switch. And in addition to that, let's have, we were talking about this on Discord with another friend recently, let's also have our Game Pass ecosystem and try to get it on as many, computing systems as you possibly can, and really
on your
just
refrigerator.
The games you can play are it's just limited by the power of that thing. It's your iPad, it's your Android phone, it's your insert thing here, and try to get as wide of an audience that way. And then also we do have this cheaper for us to make mobile or handheld console that we're putting out, where maybe that's where they put exclusives if they have any, because they have to have a reliable operating system. And they can't just say if you want to play Halo 7, then you have to have this system because it has to have a certain level of
it would be Halo Infinity +1.
Infinity +1. Yeah. Infinity times infinity. This time he's got to finish the fight again. For the 4th time.
I like that idea, and I think you're right. I think Microsoft's next goal, and if they can do this and find a way to successfully make money on it, they might get my business off of it. A cheaper system that is not made to play games, but is made to stream Game Pass. Sort of like the Ouya back in the day, but
that
better.
Very successful.
Don't say that, because there's a ton of things.
Everybody remembers playing on their Ouya.
There's a ton of things that came out before its time and failed miserably, but now
remember how the Ouya
really well.
and the Game Gear just really took off?
Yeah, exactly.
Both dominated sales, and nobody's ever heard of a Game Boy.
Yeah. So, but these are things that we could see now being very successful because streaming services and internet.
Streaming is going to be more of a thing.
And even at that point, if they come in with their, hey, buy our system beginning at $25 a month for 2 years, and then it'll drop down.
I've done that.
Right, and then it'll drop down to $15 a month after that. And dude, everybody would do that. Everybody would do that. You know what I mean?
I mean, people already have done that. It's already a thing.
But I mean a handheld device specifically created for streaming and nothing else. And just all you need is internet. I think that would do really, really well.
I agree. Because we were talking about this, I'm looking at various things. And I was like I've been actually trying to get us in our little, the three of us that play games every week to try to if gently maybe move to another thing so I can stop paying for Game Pass because I really don't use it.
Oh.
But then I just saw, oh right, they announced a new Gears of War. Oh. Like the exclusive thing has a hold on me, has a hold on people. Gears of War is great. It's a quality series and has been from the start. And I'm looking forward to the next one, and it would get me to continue to at least continue or start paying again to be able to play it, and maybe even buy a handheld, a $400 between the Switch and and the Steam Deck level of technology. I would consider doing that for a really cool exclusive.
And even think of it this way: if you choose not to buy a Sony console, you can't afford it, and Sony releases a game, you just can't play it. That's it. End of story. You just can't play it.
Mm.
But currently, if you don't have a Microsoft console, but you have a decent enough computer and a game drops, you can decide to pay $30 so that you can play it over the course of the next 2 months, and then it's like cancel.
I've done that. I'll buy a month's worth of Game Pass and then crush this game real quick,
and that's where it could have been $0 because they can't buy the game at all, but instead it's $30.
They gave you right. And also, it feels for me like I did this actually before I actually subscribed to PlayStation Plus. I subscribed to PlayStation Plus for a month to play Horizon Forbidden West. Crushed the game in a month, and they got more money. Like I was not willing to pay $60 for it, so they got 15 or however much it was, 20 or whatever for a month, more $20 more than zero. And also, I got to pay $40 less than $60. It felt like we both won in that. And so, I think that's a good way to go. But if they're not, that's not reliable income, so it's a riskier gambit to play. If they're hoping that people will just dip in to pay $15, a quarter of the asking price or less now, then that's harder to rely on for a massive company that's putting hundreds of millions of dollars into the game. So just really what they want to risk. I'm looking forward to a time where I'm actually really excited about Veilguard, Dragon Age Veilguard. Not that I care. I like Dragon Age games, are fine. Inquisition was pretty good. I like that it looks less like, it looks a little, cartoony is the word, but it's not going for a purely realistic style.
Right.
I love that. Same with Astrobot, where it's just kind of a goofy little fun thing, but is really fun to play, where I'm hoping that the temperature can be a little lowered a little bit on this idea that everything has to be, indistinguishable from reality, because that's going to be better for everybody. If we can say, oh, we don't have to continually amp up the fidelity, the number of triangles we draw, we can spend a little less.
And I honestly think that if Nintendo stays their course and we see the Switch 2 and it's a $300, $400 console, and Microsoft goes the same route at a $300, $400 console, something like that, I think Sony will become terrified to drop to their $800 next console or whatever it is.
That's the $700 Pro. I don't think they're going to go that much on the next PlayStation. Well,
the Pro is $750, and if it's the next generation, you know what I mean? And
it's a Pro. It's not the 6. It's a halfway. There won't be exclusives or anything. You won't need it to play insert game here.
My point is, when the PS6 comes out, there will be a precedent established for this 750.
That's a good point.
800.
They will now be the outlier of, wow, you require me to pay you $500?
Right, exactly that.
Right? You mean right now?
Yes.
Maybe they'll just adopt the pay over time thing. Do a lease.
Yeah,
That worked out for. I love doing out the micro. Like, I didn't have to have $400 or whatever it was, $350 for a Series S. I was able to pay $25 for 2 years.
The only trouble with that is that you have to find a way to shut down their ability to play the games if they stop paying you. Because if you lease it for $25 and you only have, or then you just buy a bunch of hard copies of games, then you just stop paying them. How do they, like, how
I
do
think they can repossess it.
I guess, yeah, send you to collection.
Literally have a
like
lease
that.
on a console.
Yeah,
it's not
a
yours.
literal lease. Yeah,
it's not even yours until you actually pay it off.
So anyway, all this
yeah.
to say that would put Sony in a market that is far beyond everyone else, and all of a sudden, I think a lot of houses will start side-eyeing Sony and saying, "Wait, we can have a ton of fun for half the price."
Yeah, sure, I get that for sure. But then a bunch of people are gonna say, "Wait, Kratos is going to Egypt?"
Right.
Hold on.
And that's where I think
The Last of Us Part 3? Hold on, like,
all this to say that I do not think this is the end of exclusives.
So Sony is going to stay the course. They have no reason not to now.
Sony will stay the course and Nintendo will stay the course.
Yes.
And that's 66% of the video game
Xbox
market.
could shift and maybe make a pretty big ripple in the but right now they are the underdogs, and I don't foresee, Sony's got a lot of stuff on the horizon that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
I mean, even we talk a lot about how there's just a lot of remakes and remasters and stuff. Exclusives also fuel a lot of the original IP.
Yeah.
Horizon and things like that are original games that come out and are exclusives,
Mm-hmm.
So Ghost of Tsushima, Bloodborne, a lot of things like that are original IP and exclusives, and it's fueling both creativity and console sales. So
Right.
They're not going to change.
Yeah. So I agree. I do not think the age of exclusivity is over.
Absolutely not.
It might be for Microsoft, but Sony will continue to have to sell their console with their software, and Nintendo's IPs. It's too important to them. And so, yeah, it'll keep.
I don't even think Nintendo cares about it. They're not even having that conversation.
No.
They're just like, hey, let's keep putting out banger after banger of Super Mario.
Yeah.
All
right, let's move on. Hey, let us know your thoughts in the chat or in this is on YouTube, but it's also on Twitch. Remember that you can watch us live on Twitch and actually talk with us before and after the podcast. With that being said, though, Fox, what have you been up to, my friend?
So my wife and I watched Twin Peaks. We currently finished the original 2 seasons. We're gonna watch the movie maybe this weekend, the prequel movie, Fire Walk with Me, and then we'll watch the Return, the show that the season that came out in 2015 or whatever. But anyway, the original 2 seasons, it's so good. I'm not, and I don't even mean that in a quality way. It kind of as far as storytelling goes, it's kind of bad sometimes. Because there's a lot of storylines that just get dropped that don't have any impact on anything, but also it's very charming. And so when it's look, it's Nadine, and she for some reason has super strength and also thinks she's in high school even though she's 56 years old and has an ongoing sexual relationship with a high schooler. That's not great, but also this is weird and just uncomfortable, but also funny, and it's just this weird amalgamation of so many different tones. And then after that, you come back to Dale Cooper, who's one of the greatest characters of all time. It's just such a unique show for its tone and setting and willingness to just be weird for the sake of weird sometimes. To have Log Lady, who's just a lady with a weird relationship with a piece of wood that she carries around, but also she's very important at certain times because it slowly introduces a supernatural thing into this world, into the world of Twin Peaks, this weird tiny little town in northern Washington. It's just so good, and I'm glad I live now where we are after the return series and all this, because if I was, if it was me in 1993 or whatever, and I watched the finale of the original series, I would be extremely disappointed. It leaves itself on just one of the worst cliffhangers to never get any kind of follow up. It would feel like I wasted my time.
And there's 3 total seasons, 2 in the early 90s and then 1 later, correct?
There's 3 seasons. The first season was like 9 episodes. The second season is like 22. And then I think there's 8 or 10 episodes in the third season. I don't know.
Yeah, there's like a revival that comes later or something like that.
Right, yeah. It's like 2017.
Yeah. I really want to watch it because you've been talking about it a lot. And then we recently watched the Dual Spires episode of Psych. Mm-hmm. And not only is it hilarious, but you can just tell there's 1,000 references in that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that.
I want to see. Yeah,
because I will understand it all. Yeah. Also, Twin Peaks is legitimately unsettlingly scary at times. Like it's legit, like hard to sleep sometimes. Like there's one episode in particular that is hard to watch.
I just know that there is a moment in one of the shows in which a guy has like a long baguette sandwich. And he bites out of the side of it, not the front of it. And it's like, what are you doing, you monster? Like,
yeah, he's interesting.
Yeah. I watched The Hunger Games: Ballad of Songbird and Snakes.
Just a single songbird?
Songbirds and snakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is the Hunger Games sequel. I read the Hunger Games books. My personal opinion is they got less good with each one. By the end of it, I disliked Katniss. Watching the movies, I felt similar. The movies were fine. They were pretty good, but I felt similar overall. So I was a little bit worried about this one. My wife had watched it, and she was like, you really need to watch it. I really enjoyed it. You should watch it. So I watched it, and it's genuinely good. Not only does it wrap in some of the Hunger Games lore in a way that feels natural and strong, but it doesn't rely on the Hunger Games as an IP too heavily at all. It is obviously a major part of this, but they're not constantly.
It's a prequel, right?
Yes, they're not constantly referencing here. This is this thing. This is the beginning of this, and fan service. We're going to mention this guy, and this guy's name is Hamish or whatever. Like they're not constantly trying to reference. They're just
look. I found this flower, and it's a Katniss or whatever.
They do that, yes, but that one they do.
Well.
That's the only one that they do.
Look, there's a Katniss and a Primrose, and the Katniss is trying to protect the Primrose from the elements and the harsh world that we live in.
So they don't do that too heavily at all. But through this all, it's actually a really good story of paranoia and what it means to try and balance I'm trying to get ahead, but also I'm overstressing myself doing it. What if I just let go and let myself live a simple life? And that challenge between the two, and it takes some wild turns, and it is genuinely a good movie. I really enjoyed watching it. So yeah, I do recommend The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Okay. So as movies go, I watched The Fall Guy.
Oh yeah, I've been wanting to watch that. Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt.
Emily Blunt.
Yeah, I love Emily Blunt.
It's on like Peacock or something now. Watched it last week. It was just, it's like how we talk about sometimes like a really good 7 out of 10 game really hits the spot where it's like, this isn't, incredible, but it only took 12 hours and I had a lot of fun with it and I'm going to put it away and probably never think about it again. That's this movie where it's a super fun popcorny, like it's clever. It's got funny jokes. Like there's some legitimately funny, jokes and stuff. Ryan Gosling is really good. He's a funny guy. He's good at physical humor.
Yeah.
The plot, you want to see what happens. It's also essentially, the whole movie's basically a tribute to stunt people.
Right.
And the concept of being a stunt person who is always in the background, but is doing these terrifyingly dangerous things all the time. And so, like, you watch the movie, it's fine. It's good. It's, a romantic comedy action movie, basically. And then throughout the credits are just behind the scenes stunt stuff. Like the director was used to be a stunt coordinator, and David Leitch, I think, something like that. And so put a lot of time and effort into doing incredible stunts. In fact, they set the record for number of like rotations on a flipping vehicle.
Whoa.
Like a rolling vehicle. They did 8.5 rotations on a rolling vehicle at one time.
That's crazy.
And they referenced it in the movie, but in real life, it also was a record for that. I think it beat Mad Max Fury Road, actually.
Oh, nice.
But anyway, it's fun. It's a piece of candy. It's nice in the moment. It's not going to stick with you.
Yeah.
You're not going to remember this movie as some kind of incredible piece of art, but it's not trying to be. And I'm not even trying to say that in a negative way. I'm just saying they had a purpose. It's funny. It's good. It's fine. It's a good 7 out of 10.
That was Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that would be a good double showing where you know what you're doing. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
They're fun. It's kind of funny. It's goofy.
Lost City was great. I loved it. It's super fun.
There's a lot of meta humor to both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Ryan Gosling, I discovered the band Dead Man's Bones. Have you heard of Dead Man's Bones?
Band?
He has a band, well, 2-man group called Dead Man's Bones. He goes under the pseudonym Baby Goose.
Okay, so not
Gosling. Yeah, exactly.
Canadian small goose.
But this is wonderful. This is what really, really hit me. Ryan Gosling met another guy that I can't remember the name of, and they bonded.
Zach Shields.
Zach Shields. They bonded over their mutual love for the Haunted Mansion ride in Disneyland.
Okay, well, yeah, this band was made for you.
100%, yes. And so that led to them just admitting that they both love spoopy things. They love spooky and the silly spooky. They love Halloween. All these things. Again, 100% me. So they made an album called Dead Man's Bones, featuring the Silver Lake Conservatory of Music Children's Choir. So they have a children's choir part of the whole times. It really is kind of just lo-fi, sort of indie, lo-fi indie type music. Absolutely real calm and chill. Great. I really enjoyed it. It's a great album, but also all of the stuff are I'm a zombie for your love. It's one of the songs and things like that. Yeah, it's hilarious. It's wonderful. They're clearly not taking themselves serious. Spoopy is the best word to describe this album, but I immediately fell in love with it, especially, of course, of the fact that it's based on their mutual love for Haunted Mansion. So, which is my favorite Disneyland ride. You can, in fact, you guys can't see it right now. I have a Madame Leota on my shelf, just out of screen.
That person.
Yeah. She's the head in the orb in the crystal ball.
Oh yeah,
that's Madame Leota. Yeah.
Okay,
go next. What's your next one?
I don't think I've ever been on Haunted Mansion when it wasn't
Nightmare Before Christmas. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
Either I didn't go on it or we were there at the Halloween time.
Yeah. Go.
I played Alan Wake,
the first,
which was directly because of Twin Peaks. I was like, I got to get in that spooky northwest. That vibe, and clearly Alan Wake is very inspired,
heavily influenced.
There's a lot of very specific things. Instead of a log lady, you have lamp lady. Things like that. There's a lot of references in the trophy names, things like that. But it's interesting. I remember playing Alan Wake when it came out, and it was fine except for it had so many in-game ads. You had the whole mechanic is you have a flashlight that you got to shine on the shadow enemies, and once you get rid of the shadow on them, then you can kill them. Your flashlight is Energizer batteries or whatever, specifically has the logo and stuff. You have Verizon Wireless is your cell phone that you carry, and you see ads for it on TVs, and literally hear he says at one point, "Can you hear me now?" Things like that. There's Thermos in there. There's other things like that, and it was just so obnoxious. They took all that out for the remaster, probably just because people didn't like it, and also probably because of just that contract ran out or whatever.
Right.
Which immediately makes it better. Those were all game-breaking, immediately take you out of what's going on, and it's a very seriously. It takes itself very seriously. The story is very complex, and it's about a writer who's writing a story about a writer, and you play as that second writer, but you're also the first writer, and it's real life, and you're influencing, and it's just 1,000 layers of kind of nonsense at the same time. But the gameplay is interesting. Playing through it this time, It's like 6 chapters, 6 different episodes, and there's too much of the level to run around in. Like there's just too much. And it feels like, why did you make this much just empty space?
Yeah.
And then I learned it was originally going to be an open world game.
Yeah.
They had been making the Max Payne games. This is Remedy. They'd been making Max Payne 1 and 2 and wanted to just get out of those tight corridor shooter type things. But then they realized or found out that the story they wanted to tell, the tone they wanted to keep, the pacing and stuff was just not possible with an open world game, which makes sense. That's just kind of how open worlds go. You kind of have this level of disconnect that you have to have in order to maintain that tension. So they cut out a bunch of the game, but still left these big open worlds. So it's just like there's a whole lot of stuff to just get lost. Like, okay, I guess I didn't run the right way. Like it feels like, no, keep chopping out more of this. It still looks pretty wide open. You can just cut more of it out. But the game is fun. It's very repetitive. The best parts of the game, after like the second chapter, the best parts of the game are when you're not running through the dark woods, shooting the same 6 enemies over and over again. That gets really, really boring and repetitive, but the game is still fun to play. It doesn't overstay its welcome, but it could have been more welcome for a longer amount of time. If you know what I mean? Like, it's not like too terrible that it's too much, but if it was less, it would have been better. And I am very much looking forward to playing the sequel because it seems like everything about the first one is improved. And obviously the sequel is considered an incredible game, and I'm looking forward to playing it. And I genuinely want to know what happens next in the story. I know you play as Saga Anderson as like one of the main characters.
Yeah.
And there's the Anderson brothers in the first game who are these like old rock and rollers. And I'm like, is she like their daughter or one of their brothers, one of their daughters or related to them? Because that's cool. I want to know about that. And I'm looking forward to it whenever I get to it.
My last thing is I read a couple of graphic novels. First is the most recent The Adventure Zone graphic novel called The Suffering Game. And this is just one in a series. I've talked about everyone as they come out. I've read everyone.
Yep.
Both in the podcast itself and now very, very much in the graphic novels. This is the turn from just a goofy comedy time with some fun story written into, oh, we're getting real now. This is like things are getting real serious here. It does it very well, very smoothly. It portrays some like really key moments in the fandom of the podcast, like arms stretched out is a phrase that is really big to the fans of the podcast, and it portrays this moment beautifully. Just some outstanding moments within the podcast, all leading around to what seems to be either the penultimate or the third to last. So either there's only one more or two more after this, but It really is just balancing this. It's still comedic. There's still goofy, funny things, but this one is much more serious and a lot more emotion in it, done really, really well. So including a moment. So minor spoiler, there's like existential, literally existence threat. And all throughout the graphic novels, they've actually been talking to Griffin, the GM. Yeah. And at one point they attempt to talk to Griffin and you see him fading away almost Infinity War style. Yeah. And there was that question of like, wait, what's happening? The DM is gone. What? You know, so yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, very, very good.
I have to borrow those from you.
On top of that, my wife found at a random yard sale Sandman the Dream Hunters.
Yeah, Dream Hunters is cool.
Oh my gosh. This is a Neil Gaiman story written in the world of the Sandman. If you don't know it, it's spectacular. But this one is very specifically meant to be in the style of a Japanese folktale.
Yeah.
And it is co-done with a Japanese watercolor artist.
Yeah, the art is incredible.
And each page is stunning. Stunning. It is not paneled. It is one page of text. It's more like a picture book rather than a graphic novel. Yeah. It's one page of text and then one just gorgeous piece of art, including a legitimate centerfold that folds out in the middle. Huge, just outstanding art of Dream. And overall, it tells such a wonderful and fun story. And this graphic novel to me is something that I wish happened more often. Just tell a story in the world of a popular character, but dig into another culture, have it represented well.
I mean, the Sandman itself does that a lot.
A lot, yes. Neil Gaiman does that a lot.
That's the nature of the Sandman, is that it's kind of universal.
Yeah. So
literally,
it's outstanding. I cannot recommend it enough. That's Sandman, The Dream Hunters.
Yeah, I've got the individual issues.
Yeah,
and they're really beautiful. Yeah.
Well, that's all I got.
That's all I got.
Well then, hey, thank you very much for being here. Hey, if you're in the chat right now, stick around, because once we tie up here, we're going to go in, look through your comments, and we'll chat through them. We want to say a really big thank you to Granger for the use of our theme song, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, and so do most of my neighbors, off of the album Dear Sam. Go check out Granger. They are very good. We actually have a command for Granger now, so you can click that link and go check out Granger.
I command you to do something. Anyway, hey.
There you go. It's been too long, huh?
The Nerdy Gritty is it started out as its own thing. But
there's a callback.
Everybody's favorite
David
SNL
Pumpkins
character from 2016. We are part of what's called Save Point Ministries. We are a ministry that seeks to show people how important it is to have in-person, real-life community. We love the internet. We're on there we use the internet. We're on there too much. It's got a lot of cool stuff on it. But one thing it's not great for is it's good at connecting people. It's not good at depth. It's a good, shallow lake. It is not a deep stream, deep ocean. And so we also believe that it is important for everybody to find in-person, real-life connections in community with people. And we also believe that a wonderful place to do that is the church, the Christian church. And so what we seek to do here at Save Points is to connect people from, a primarily online community to also an in-person community through the church. If that is something that just sounds interesting to you, if you want to know more, at the very least, please, SavePointMinistries.com. SavePointMinistries.com. I always forget the actual.
Yeah.
SavePointMinistries.com. Go check it out. We'll connect with you there. We have a Discord you can jump on. That is why we do what we do. We also love talking about all these goofy nerd things, but this is all in service of a greater goal to connect people together through the real life community.
Thanks again for listening, guys. We really appreciate that you're being here. And always remember that save games, save lives.
Bye-bye.